is Paul. I work for the law firm of Harris, Guidi, Rosner. I focus on family law and personal injury. In order to give a pure definition of libel, you have to understand what defamation is. Defamation is an unprivileged false statement of fact which tends to harm the reputation of a person or company. That is a catch-all for libel and slander, okay? Libel is defamation that is written, either on a web page, a review, a blog, and slander is defamation that is spoken through, such as a videotape, podcast, or some other audio vehicle. Although it is a cause of action, it's a strict area of law because it's governed by the First Amendment, the freedom of speech. So you have to weigh what's more protected, the overall citizen's right of freedom of speech, or if any actual harm has been done to the recipient of that statement. There's civil libel, and then there's criminal libel. And again, it all stems from the First Amendment of what speech isn't protected. Okay, speech that's not protected that can lead to criminal sanctions such as true threats. Okay, I'm going to kill you. That's a threat against your harm. There's also, excitement speech, speech that is intended to start a riot. That's also criminally sanctionable. Civil libel is governed by Chapter 770. Okay, the elements of that are the plaintiff or the recipient of the statement must prove that the defendant made a false and defamatory statement. That's the first thing you have to prove. Secondly, it has been published to a third party. Okay, and third, the speaker knew or should have known that the statement was false. That's a negligence standard. It's kind of the lowest standard there is, and the statement causes injury. I think that probably the fourth element, the injury to the party, is probably where a lot of these causes fail, because sure, I can say things that are harmful, offensive, but have they caused you actual damages? And you have to quantify that in a civil court. Like, what monetary value have you lost because of me saying this statement to you? Facebook is a breeding ground for these libelous statements, okay? However, when you're going after somebody in a suit, you want to look for somebody that essentially has the deep pockets, okay? Sue me, sure, you can get a paper judgment against me, but you can't squeeze water from a rock, So therefore, you would want to go against Facebook, the actual carrier of this statement, of my libelous statement about you, right? Case law out there that says the carriers, distributors of a published work, they don't hold responsibility for libel unless they had reasonable knowledge beforehand of the libelous material distributed. Okay, let's talk about the resident newspaper here in Jacksonville. I'm going around, I'm spreading all sorts of rumors about every company. Once, I would say if I was caught giving these false statements, okay, I'm liable, you know what I'm saying? But if I continually do it, the newspaper essentially has notice, especially if I've been caught. They have notice that I'm going around giving these false statements and they're still publishing it. Then the carrier might open themselves up to some sort of liability for those statements because they have knowledge. Let's bring it back to the elements, okay, the elements of libel, okay. Sure, the defendant can prove that I've made a libelous statement because it's written down and published in a newspaper. The publication to a third party, this newspaper goes to hundreds of people, okay, and now the newspaper is now the speaker because they know I've been going around spreading these false statements, and after 2 or 3 times, they knew or should have known that to be false. You still have to prove damages, though. Most largely in the case of big corporations. I would say that's where you can quantify damages, loss of business going into them and such.